Welcome back to Shelf to Table. We just got off a hiatus right after episode 2, so that's a good time to take a break.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but we're back at it. We got a long list of board games. We had to cut this down quite a bit because we've actually gotten in quite a few new games recently. But yeah, we're going to talk about the ones that I think we're excited about or just have some opinions on. Right?
Lots to talk about. We chose the cream of the crop.
Yeah, cream of the crop. Yeah, there you go. With the freshest quality ingredients, come straight to your table. So let's just dive right into this and let's talk about some games. So we're going to start off with what we've just played. Well, I would say just played over the last 3 to 4 weeks, right? First one I wanted to start with was one that I bought recently, and this is going to be Guards of Atlantis 2. This is a MOBA style game, so it is a team battler where you are going to take control of a hero and basically you're going out and you're trying to get those minions to push to that other throne or whatever, and you're trying to eliminate the hero. So if you played things like Dota, Dota 2, this is what that game is trying to represent. And I really like the idea of this game, and bringing it out to the table, I feel like it's actually a pretty straightforward game to play, but it was a little challenging to teach and for people to wrap their head around. And also the simultaneous card play, probably one of my favorite things about it. Yeah. But getting people to set up for those big moves is really challenging. And I felt like we had a little bit of AP at the table with people trying to optimize their strategy and come up with their solutions. So the game it slogged a little bit. I don't know, what was your opinion on this?
Yeah, I'd say I had a similar impression, but funny enough, I think we chatted about this after we played, but I think we played at 4.
Yes.
It supports quite a few players.
Yeah,
I wanted
10,
to play,
right?
Yeah. I wanted to play it with more people, but I do worry about like you said, the AP and just sort of the way it kind of drug on just a bit. But overall, I did enjoy it. I thought it was really interesting. I had never played any MOBA, lane battler style games like that. So I think part of the teach was just kind of grasping how the minions work, and they're just kind of there to facilitate you leveling up and things. But yeah, I thought it was really neat that you kind of got to build your deck of actions a bit, and like you said, set up for some of those big moves. Would definitely give that another play. Just like all the different characters that are available, I think it was fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be more fun. So next time, I definitely want to let players choose their own characters. So we did the intro setup, which just assigned characters to both the teams, which I think it took away a little bit of the agency. So you weren't as invested in the character you got, I think. And then the other things that happened during the game were taking out a hero. I feel like that's kind of the big moment in it, but MOBAs are kind of in that category where, you're mostly just trying to take out those minions, and then you have those opportunistic kills on other heroes. Yeah. And I feel like I didn't do a good enough job explaining that in the game, and being look, the heroes are your secondary objective, but if you have that opportunity, take them out, do it. Yeah. So, and this is something that was interesting because if you attack somebody, they have an opportunity to play the defense card, but you only have 5 cards per round, and playing that defense card now means on that last round of the game, your hero is going to be defenseless. You cannot defend against an attack, and there's no health. It's just if you cannot defend, then you're dead, and then you spawn again. And so I find it really interesting that you kind of work together with your team and hit somebody to make them play a defense card, then try to get in the position where you're going to hit them again, and they can't stop you. So I think there's just some interesting stuff with Guards of Atlantis 2, and I'm excited to return to it.
Yeah, it definitely did a good job of rewarding team play, I would say, and kind of understanding what you were trying to do. There were some interesting rules around communication.
Just open
communication at the table. You can talk to your partner about what you want to do and what you want to try and set up.
I know you have to read the cards to them. You
can read them your cards, but then everybody else is just there at the table with you. So that was kind of funny, I thought.
Yeah.
But definitely rewards team play. I think there's a high skill ceiling, just like with MOBAs in general. So yeah, excited to play it some more.
Yeah, I'm excited to return to this one. But yeah, hopefully we'll talk about this one again in the future. But let's move on to a game that you recently brought out. This one you backed a little while ago and finally got it to the table. So what do you think, or what is this game and what do you think of it?
Yeah, I like you're going to have me try to pronounce
Yes, exactly.
that
I skipped the pronunciation.
So I believe it's pronounced Habemus or Habemus Papam, which is a game by Salt and Pepper Games, designed by Francisco Gradale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I'm probably butchering that, so I'm really sorry. He's a really nice guy, and actually helped answer some questions I had on the BGG forums about the game. So Francisco, I'm sorry. Really interesting game. As the name implies, it's kind of about the process of electing a new pope, right? So you play as you represent a group of cardinals within the Catholic Church. And you have these 8 candidates splayed out on the table, all with different characteristics and attributes that are kind of in opposition to one another. So, one pope might be very young, and of course, like the opposition to that would be like older popes. And so you have a public and secret objective that basically is telling you like what type of which type of candidates you want to elect and influence to become the next pope.
Or if you even want a pope. I didn't want a pope.
Yeah. I think Chance's secret objective was the anti-pope. So he didn't want one at all. So really fun game. I thought it was like quite an experience. Some things that stuck out to me were just kind of like it's very. At its core, it's very simple. You have one resource, which is like your influence points, which are also victory points. And on your turn, you're either playing a card, for some text-based action, like rearranging influence or preventing influence from going to certain candidates, or you're actually spending your influence on those candidates and trying to influence who you want to win. So in the first 4 rounds, you want like a 2/3 majority. In the final 5th round, you just need a simple majority. And the third action is just passing. So it's really like pretty basic at its core. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I felt like, so the teach felt like it was going to be confusing and weird. I felt like the teach could be streamlined after that first play because it was way easier than the teach made it seem on that first play.
For sure.
But some of the things that stood out to me was you just glossed over 2/3 majority. So we're going to touch on that really quick. The game comes with a reference card for what a 2/3 majority is. Because essentially this is harder to calculate than just a simple majority, right? It's like, okay, well there's 14 tokens on the table, so the candidate needs to have like a 10 to win or something, right? And then it's like, okay, well they currently have 8, so if I add 2 tokens to them, then they're gonna win, right? And then it's like, wait, no, but now there's 16 tokens on the table, and that actually shifts the goalpost because you're going for that 2/3 majority. So you're constantly going through and being like, how many tokens do I need to add to make this person win? So this is something that Josh mentioned before the game where some people complained about this, but I actually thought it worked in this game really well, as long as you're someone that's not super strict on worrying about the numbers, because I felt like the game was really trying to drive to getting to that 5th round, that simple majority, and you were just you're playing with those card abilities and moving those tokens around, trying to earn influence points in those first 4 rounds. As long as you're going into it being like, look, we're probably not going to pope in these first 4 rounds. Like it's just likely not happening. You go for it, going for those influence points, because essentially whoever comes out on top each round is going to shift like the scoring opportunity at the end of the round, and some people are going to be like overwhelmed with influence points. Like Josh can be like, I just made like 30, and then you're going to have another person at the tables that's like, I got 3. So big disparities. But I think this is a game that to me, this drives home the difference between wanting to win a game and trying to win a game. Because this is a game that I don't feel like you're going to have fun if you want to win. Yeah. But I feel like if you go into it trying to win and you kind of lean into that negotiation, because the rulebook says like you can trade whatever you want. Like trade your car. It doesn't matter. Like do what you need to win. So I feel like
those votes.
Yeah. So as long as you go into it with that attitude of being like, I'm just going to try to win and see if I can have some fun with this. Like I think this one was a really good time. But it is negotiation, so that's not going to land for everybody, right?
Yeah. I thought it was a blast. The negotiation's fun. The alliances at the table reminded me a little bit in a weird way of something like Cosmic Encounter, where you're you're kind of bargaining with other players, trying to form those alliances, and they're shaky.
It's like a mashup of like Zoo Vedas and Cosmic Encounter and the math of like modern art. Like it's like a nice little
cool game. I believe, I'm not sure if this is out in retail yet. I got it through the Game Found campaign, but definitely recommend picking it up. And I'm a big fan of Salt and Pepper games. They always have really cool themes. I actually just picked up Battle of the Divas. We've played. What was the one with the sailors? The 2 navies.
Yeah, man, I'm blanking on that name too.
Oh man,
The Hunt.
The Hunt, Watergate. Lots of really interesting themes.
And I've got a bunch of solo games from them. So I just played Conservice. I got Resist and Witchcraft.
Great games.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on, and this is going to be moving on to a newer game in my collection. This is one that got some attention from Shut Up and Sit Down, but I kind of saw the review and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that. Like the way they described it, I was like, that didn't land for me. But there was someone else, I have a YouTube channel, someone else commented on there and was like, I think you would like this. And I was like, fine, like I'll pick it up, whatever. I absolutely love this. This is Dracula versus Van Helsing. So the way I'm going to describe this is a lane battler trick taker. because essentially you have a board that's going to have citizens. There's 4 citizens per area. Now it's basically like a lane battler, but crushed up into a city, basically. But essentially, it's just like you have 5 lanes that you're going to be playing in, and then you have these tokens that are on your little, or well, they're supposed to be kind of cards, and that's one of the things that annoys me is the fact that they made like cardboard chits instead of cards, makes it impossible to shuffle them. But besides the point. But whatever, you're going to add them to your stand, and where the position of your cards are, so you can't reorder them. That is going to determine the card you play into that lane, and that's where the trick taking comes in, because there's going to be a trump suit, and you're going to basically try to have the highest number there. But on your turn, the way you're going to modify like what cards you have in that zone is going to be by drawing a card and then discarding. So you draw a card, you can replace it if you want with another one, but then you discard it and you have to take that action. You got to do that power. And the powers on these cards are awesome. Like you have the 7, which I think when you discard it, you get to change the trump, so you just get to radically alter the state of the game by moving that trump suit. But then you have the 1s, and you're like, oh, I don't want to have a 1 in my stand. This is a trick taker. I need to have high values. But you discard that 1, and you have to reveal a card to your opponent. So you like play that on the table and be like, this is the card that is in this position. And that just now they're like, well, I know how to win this this zone. So I thought this was a really cool mashup with that lane battle or trick taker. I am super excited to get this one back to the table. Josh, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I was a big fan. I'm, as Chance knows, not the biggest like trick taker fan, mostly just due to my own skill at it. But I thought this one was a blast. Big fan of lane battlers, and I think we were talking today about potentially doing a sort of a ranking of like lane battlers we've played. Yeah, there's been a lot of them, and I would rank this one quite highly. I thought it was really simple. I like games like Love Letter, where I always tell people draw a card, play a card.
Yeah,
that's sort of what this amounted to. Except for, as Chance mentioned, they're kind of like cardboard tiles.
Oh, yeah.
And they have discard powers. The thing that I liked most about this, or 2 things I'll say. One is something you already mentioned, which is being able to change the trump suit. So it's a lane battler where you can just like drastically alter the math behind like who's winning just by discarding one of those 7 tiles. The other thing is just being, the discard powers in general. So Chance kind of alluded to this, but the discard powers as you go up in number, so like your better tiles that are going to actually win you lanes, have really powerful discard effects. Whereas like the low numbers, like the 1 and the 2, really like kind of hamstring you. Like you don't want them out there, but they will really like screw you over if you don't get rid of them. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm looking forward to playing this one more. Hopefully today even.
Then you remind me that the other thing that stands out to me on this one is that declaring the end game, because like the round's going to end if you go through the entire deck, but I think that's going to be the more rare case, because essentially once you're like, oh, I think I have a strong hand, you can just be like, I'm declaring the end, then your opponent gets 1 more turn. And I came to the realization on like around 3 or 4 that I was like, you know what, if I hold on to a 7, I let Josh declare the end, I can take that final turn and just like change the trump and like screw him over. So I feel like there's some cool meta around like how you manage that end game, how you do you let the other person declare the end game, and then there's also that tile where you like discard the 8 and you just the game ends immediately. So there's really interesting game end triggers that can just kind of that can lock in your win or can just like wreck you. So I think that's really fun in this game.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, if you're really feeling yourself, there's no better feeling than like early on you're like, you know what, I think I got this one, and you just declare the end of the round and you actually do it. More often than not, though, I found that I was declaring the end of the round and then losing. So it was interesting. There were some big swings. Definitely, if you play a lot of 2-player games, I would highly recommend this one.
All right, and let's move on to a brand new one in your collection, Josh. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is going to be a Tag Team, which is sort of an auto battler. It seems to be inspired by like things like Street Fighter and those like 2D fighting games. I thought this one was really cool. So the way it works is you're going to draft 2 fighters, as the name implies. It's 2 versus 2. And then each fighter has like their own deck of cards, and they're highly unique and asymmetric, right? So they all have different specialties, and there's actually a separate booklet of aside from the rules that just explains like how you set up each individual fighter and kind of how they work. I was a little worried that this would maybe be like too much.
Some of them have a lot of text.
Some of them have a lot of text, but we actually had 2 of the more complex fighters, and it was pretty easy to quickly process like what they do, how they do it, and set them up. But then the way things are going to work is each fighter has like a starter card, right? And you're going to arrange those 2 starter cards in any way you want, and then you simultaneously reveal the top card from your deck. You process your attacks, your blocks, your special effects. And then you reveal the next card, and it's it's the simultaneous action, so it's really fast, it's really frantic. I think we were playing games in like 15, 20 minutes max.
Max, yeah.
So yeah, after that first hand, right, like that's called like the action phase or whatever. After that, you actually get to do some deck building. So you're going to draw 3 cards from your shared deck of both of your fighters. You shuffle them together, and then you get to pick one and kind of either put it on either end of the deck or sandwich it in the middle. So you can't rearrange like existing cards, but you can put the new card in however you like. And in that fashion, you're kind of doing the auto battler part of this game, and it's part of what makes it so interesting to me is you're kind of doing that deck building, fashioning like your new sequence of attacks and blocks and things, and trying to kind of outwit what your opponent's doing. And if you're really thinking about things and you're really trying to win, you're kind of remembering what your opponent's doing as well. I thought this one was really cool. We played a couple games really quickly back to back. I'm hoping to play it more. I actually brought it out today. So I'm ready to try out more of the fighters and eager to see like what kinds of expansions they come out with. But yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot to add to that because, yeah, the auto battler is interesting. I thought there wasn't going to be a whole lot of agency because of that auto battler, you know, like just flip cards, see what happens. That can be fun in a game, but it can be a little, it's like, where's the decisions in this or whatever.
Yeah.
But that deck building component of this where you are you're drawing those 3 cards, choosing one to add, and each of your fighters has their own little interesting ways of comboing their cards together and getting interesting things to happen. So you're trying to, position your cards to get the actions to happen in the order that you want them to happen. Like that's super important. But then also you're trying to remember like, ooh, your opponent had a big attack card on like draw number 2. So I might want to get a block card in there to cancel that one out. So like, yeah, doing that decision, trying to make sure that you are actively countering your opponent while trying to get things happen for you. I think there is actually a pretty good decision space from this. And this is Scorpion Mask Games. I think they just do a brilliant job. This is a good production, really, really well done game. So I'm excited to revisit this one as well.
Yeah, easy to pick up and play. Lots of variability, lots of replayability with all the different fighters. As we both mentioned, just lots of unique combinations out there and things to try. So yeah, highly recommend.
All right, next up that we just hit, this is I think a shared favorite of ours, Bomb Busters.
Yeah, Bomb Busters has been a hit with everyone, from like hardcore gamers that I've played with to just like my family and like friends that don't really play board games much. I think it's really interesting. Love the art. It's just very like cool and like cartoonish, which is funny when you think about the theme. But yeah, Bomb Busters, essentially kind of like a hidden information game where you have this array in front of you of wires that need to be cut. You're trying to defuse bombs. And there's really only like, I believe 3 actions you can do on your turn. So you can either, all of your tiles are hidden and they're numbered, right? And your teammates also have wire arrays in front of them. So what you're trying to do is you get like 1 free info token at the beginning that will tell you what someone else's, you can basically like proclaim what one of your wires is. Yeah, reveal some information. And then you're essentially just going around and trying to cut all of the wires. And the way you do that is you'll gesture at one of your teammates' boards and say, hey, I think that wire is a 2. And if you're correct, you have to have the 2, they have the 2, you both lay them down. You can also do a solo cut where you like reveal the remaining wires if you have all of them. And then if you have a red wire, and that's like your last remaining wire, you can reveal it. And really that in a nutshell is all there is to it, right?
Yep. There's like some abilities, so there's some gadgets, there's ways to kind of, because I'm going to say Bomb Busters is not a perfect information deduction game, right? Like it's not Search for Planet X. Search for Planet X, like you were trying to narrow down to the only option you have to find Planet X.
Yeah.
Whereas Bomb Busters is like, well, I think that could be a 3 or a 4 in that position, and I might have to take a risk and make this guess. But you have like gadgets that can kind of mitigate the damage of that guess, because you have a few things you can fail with, or a few times you can fail, but you just got to make sure you don't hit that red wire. And like you know where the red wire is, like the game tells you like there's a red wire between 3 and 4, and like that the 3-4 zone is in the danger zone. So like that information, but you do have to take those risks with that imperfect information and just try to find the other wires. Overall, though, I think we're probably gonna be doing like a family game list at one point, because we've had a few people request that. And I think this is probably gonna hit that list, because I think this is just a great one for like all levels of gamers. Yeah. So I really enjoy Bomb Busters.
Yeah, low barrier of entry, relatively cheap. You can get it just about anywhere. I think for a little while it was hard to get a hold of. I think now it's kind of like circulating again. And the other thing we didn't mention is just the wide array of like campaign missions that are available. So, we spent a great deal of time just playing through like the 8 training missions over and over, and like you can totally just like pull that out anytime and play through that, and there's plenty of challenge there. But then there's actually 66 kind of unique missions that you can undertake that come with like this legacy style campaign boxes with like stickers and audio files and timers and all of these things that you like introduce. So we actually made our way through the first few of those yesterday. And they're really fun. They add some interesting elements and some stuff that I might want to house rule into the base game. Like instead of taking turns, clockwise, like you normally do in board games, you can just say, snip if you're feeling confident and let anybody take their turn, like whenever they want, as long as they're not like back-to-back turns.
Yeah, that was the real-time module, right?
Yeah, real time with the timer counting down. Like some of that I think would be fun to just house rule into the base game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's going to be Bomb Busters. We'll probably be talking about this more in the future because, I definitely want to get through more of those missions. All right. So next up is one that this just arrived in the last couple of weeks for me off of a Kickstarter campaign. This one's going to be March of the Ants, and I just got this to the table last week. And overall, I'm excited about it, but also a little apprehensive because there is something that it's definitely a pet peeve of mine in board games. But overall, I do like this area control component. I love the cards in the game, like those evolution cards. So basically, you're playing as an ant colony. You're trying to spread out your ants. They're going out to these different collection sites to try to gain like basically food resources or points or something. Pretty basic mechanics overall. Like now that I played it once, I feel like the teach is going to be really easy and really easy to get into. And then the cards with the goals, there's some interesting goals in the game where you're trying to get your colony some bonus points. But the cool cards are like those evolution cards. You can evolve the 3 sections of your ant. You got like the head for combat. You have the thorax for gathering or something, or
additional
actions. Yeah. So and then you have the abdomen or the last thing for usually food. And
food.
Stuff. Yep, for the most part. But the cards they're all super interesting, and trying to evolve your ant is just I find that to be fun. Like I find that to be a really interesting idea. Now I was doing some reading about this game. Like Tim Eisner is one of the designers. Other ones are Ryan Swisher. Tim Eisner is actually I believe he's a designer in Wonderland's War, which is one of the things that actually drew me to March of the Ants because I was curious about it. But I was reading some stuff, and it was like kind of based on like a 4X Eclipse style game, but made much simpler, much lighter. And I'd agree with that. It's definitely a much lighter 4X game. The only issue I have with the game, and one of my pet peeves, is going through individual territories and processing each combat individually. Like it's actually, I like El Grande a lot, but I also kind of hate going through and scoring the zones. Like it's just one of those things in the game where I feel like the game just comes to a halt, and it's like, okay, we got to do this. Here's the first zone. Okay, next zone, and it just
Hall, same thing.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things that kind of like slows the game down, slows down the action. But overall, this is one that I'm definitely going to be playing again because there are just some cool things in there, and I feel like it'll run smoother on the second play. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that first play, for me at least, is usually like exploratory. Let me just see what happens. Let me see what I can do. Where can I push some boundaries and just like do some fun stuff. And there was definitely room for that. I got to set up like some really interesting cards. I thought the card play was. Cards are expensive in this game, right? Resources are pretty tight, and resources kind of dictate your available actions. But I was able to set up some really neat stuff. I had one card that I got like late in the game where in combat I could remove an ant to like randomly reveal a card and remove like X number of opponents' ants based on that card.
Ooh, yeah.
There were some really interesting upgrades and like interactive elements to that, which I really appreciate, just being able to like mess with one another in a board game. I would say like as far as like negatives, the only one that really stuck out to me was just that I don't think combat fully clicked for me, like that end phase of combat. I know you talked about going zone by zone, which I also am not like a huge fan of, but I don't totally, it's not like a showstopper for me. Yeah. But I felt like it never really clicked for me how you determined like how many ants get removed at the end of combat. It's not like I'm sure it's like intuitive after you've like played it a couple times, but it's the one thing that like on a future play, I'm like, okay, this time I'm really trying to like grasp how many ants I'm going to lose in combat and how that's determined.
I'd say there are two people at the table that definitely, I think, struggle with this. One of them being Josh, and it was just that there's two separate numbers in combat, which makes it a little confusing because you have like a strength number to determine who wins, but then the ants that are removed are actually that's determined by the number of ants in the territory, and the strength no longer matters. So it's kind of a weird system. It makes sense once you kind of wrap your head around it. I think. I understood it because I had to read those rule section like 4 times to be able to be like, wait, what happens here? So yeah, that's definitely, I can see how that can be a sticking point. And that's one of those parts where I definitely need to improve the teach on it too.
It was good to have someone at the table that understood that.
Yeah.
As long as you have one person that gets it, then I think it's all good.
Yeah, and then whenever I did combat, I was just like, you guys lose all your ants and mine stay. That's how it works, right? No.
Yeah, the other thing I thought was really cool about this one was there wasn't a lot of downtime in the sense that something I think we haven't covered was, you take one of your main actions on your turn, but then the players to your left and right get to react. So they get a reactionary action based on what you did. So, sometimes you play some of these types of games and you're like just kind of like twiddling your thumbs between turns. If you're me, if you're smarter, maybe you're planning your next turn. But yeah, there was like always something happening. I think in our game of 4, there was maybe one player's turn where I wasn't to the left or right of somebody, so I wasn't doing anything. So there's always something going on, which I appreciate. I
felt like, the turns were snappy. That reaction mechanism kept people engaged because you cared about what other people were doing because you're like, oh, what reaction am I going to get on my turn? Yeah. And so yeah, overall, I think this is a good one. We'll see how high it climbs on my list because it's definitely going to take another player or two before I can kind of make that final decision.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to our final just played, and this one is a smaller box, and this is one that you've recently picked up a lot of boxes for. We want to dive into this?
Yeah, so this is going to be Kinfire Delve. I'm a big fan of the Kinfire games, having picked up pretty much all of them aside from
the big box,
big box dungeon crawler. But interestingly enough, I actually read a review recently. We were talking about this when we played it from, was it Space Biff?
I think Dan Thoreau.
Yeah, was actually talking about preferring these like smaller box dungeon crawls, the Kinfire Delve series. So we played Vainglory's Grotto. Really, really enjoyed it. I'll lead with that. And I'm excited to explore the other boxes. I have all 3, as Chance mentioned. But essentially the way this is going to work is it's kind of like a card-driven dungeon crawl where you have a boss character who is chosen at random from a set of, I believe, 3 in Vainglory's Grotto. So there's 3 variations of the same boss. The dungeon itself is like highly thematic, which I thought was really interesting. It seemed really influenced by the well keeper, who's like the boss character. And the way it works is you have that character set out in the middle, and then around it you have 4 challenges, or I believe that's what they were called.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And those challenges represent you descending through the dungeon, and they all have like textual effects and various categories and various like skill alignment. And then each player, this is a 2-player game, but if you have some of the other boxes, you can actually play with 4 as well. Each player is going to control like a pretty thematic and unique hero. Yeah. And you have your deck, and you're essentially trying to complete challenges to discard cards from around the Wellkeeper and descend through the deck by burning cards. So in that sense, it kind of reminded me of something like Regicide a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. And this is another one where like, even if it's not your turn, you'll play a card to attempt a challenge. Your partner can like boost you or like work with you. There's a lot of communication involved. I thought this one was really cool. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You mentioned that it kind of gave, like reading the rules gave you Regicide vibes in a way. And I totally agree with that. I mean, definitely a very different card play style, but still similar in the way that you're going to be going after those challenges. Basically, you're playing this card, trying to reach that challenge limit to eliminate that card, to get a new one out. You also get those rewards to kind of like burn cards from that deck to kind of basically dive deeper into this dungeon to try to get to that final boss at the end. And you're constantly trying to manage your hand of cards because if you have to ever redraw, you're getting these exhaustion cards, and that's one of the ways the game can end if you manage to draw the wrong exhaustion cards. Definitely a little bit of randomness with those ones, but I think it worked out really well. I was surprised at how much they got into that tiny box, like how much game they got into that tiny box. Like I'm very impressed with it. So I'm excited to continue playing that one because, like you said, there's 4 variations of the same boss, and then you have 3 other boxes?
3 boxes total, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to visit those ones because I love Regicide, and this one definitely it has some similarities in kind of working through that deck and trying to defeat the final boss in that kind of like restricted time frame that you have for your deck, right?
Yeah, the art was fantastic.
Ooh,
like
yeah.
the production was really cool. You know, foil cards and the like. And I thought the dungeon just oozed character. Like I really felt like every challenge and the boss themselves, and all of it just kind of like oozed character and this like theme of the dungeon. So I'm excited to explore not just like the variations of that boss, but also like, you know, combine that and mix it with the other two boxes, Callous Labs and Scorn Stockade, just to test out the other heroes and like take those heroes between boxes. I think just a really cool game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, so that is going to finish off our Just Played section. Like I said, we had to really whittle this list down. so that was a lot of games, and we have more to talk about in the future. We probably need to like do like a podcast a night or something at this rate, right? Yeah. But now, quickly, we're just going to do a short section on Excited to Play, then move on to some crowdfunding and pre-order stuff, then finally on to our feature topic. So things that I'm excited to get to the table, and I'm just going to go through these fast. It's going to be 23 Knives. I just recently picked this one up. It's a social deduction one. Basically, it's trying to do the Caesar, you know, et tu Bruno. So I've listened to some reviews. I was a little hesitant to pick this one up. Not crazy about social deduction, but the idea of this one was it sounded neat. It sounded like you could actually do things like change your alliances during the game. And that's one of the things I kind of don't always enjoy about social deduction, kind of being locked in like to one strategy for the entire game.
Sure.
But I like this one where like you get these knife cards, you get these peace cards or whatever, or Reese or something, and like you can be playing those down, throwing them in different areas and kind of changing up the what your potential goal is going to be during the game. So I like the idea of this. I'm excited to get it to the table, and I'm sure you're excited to try this one out. You're excited to try it.
I'm always excited for new games. Yeah, I think this one will be cool based on what you've told me about it.
Yeah. And I feel like we're going to have lots of people are going to be saying, et tu, Bruno. So I think that's going to happen, hopefully at least like 6 or 7 times. So next up, big box. I think we're both excited about this one. Nemesis Retaliation. I've had this one on my shelf for a little while now. I mostly read the rules. We've played Nemesis plus Nemesis Lockdown. I think we played Nemesis Lockdown probably 3 times, only Nemesis once. And I have a blast playing this game. It is not everyone's game, not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Player elimination is not going to be fun for some people. Some people are not going to like the randomness, and some people are not going to like just being beat down by a board game.
Very unfriendly game.
Yeah. But Nemesis Retaliation, you finally get to do a little bit more damage. You get to fight the aliens and stuff. And reading the rule book, there's some interesting stuff in there. Like I like this idea where you're a squad going in to eliminate things, but there's a thing in the rule book about like if you are a higher ranking officer than someone else, you can actually like command them to do stuff.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah. So I'm interested to see how this is gonna work.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Right. And then the last one on my list that I'm excited to play. This one I've already mentioned in another video. Molly House. I'm learning the rules to this one. I think I'm going to be on try number 4 of learning the rules. The rule book for me is very difficult to decipher. I don't know why, but it is not the best layout for me. But I am excited to play this one because I think the theme is just super unique. So it's what is it? The like gay communities in England in like 1730s or something like that, like back in the past. And this thing where you're kind of semi-co-op, like you're trying to make sure that you're achieving your own joy during the game, but like the constables are going to be coming out, so you might become kind of an informant to kind of keep yourself safe. But if you do too much informing, then the constables are going to like shut down the Molly houses. Then like the community that you were trying to like participate in is now no longer existing, and then everyone loses the game. So you can actually have like everyone lose or one winner or something. So there's going to be some interesting stuff that happens in Molly House. So those are the 3 that I'm excited to get to the table.
Yeah. Looking forward to all of them.
Yeah. Then I'm going to pass it off to Josh. And Josh, what are you excited to bring out here in the near future?
Yeah, so again, I had limited myself to 3 here, but there's lots that I'm excited to play, lots of stuff on the shelf of shame. But one of them that I recently acquired was the Night Cage. So something really, you know, with it being near Halloween. And that's sort of a theme with a couple of the games on this list. I won't spoil the other ones yet. But yeah, Night Cage looks really cool. It wasn't really on my radar, but it kept popping up on the... I shop Atomic Empire sometimes, which is a game store in like Durham, North Carolina. Their bestsellers list is usually like a good gateway into some like interesting games that I usually see stuff pop up that I haven't seen before. So I've actually found a lot of interesting games that way. But Night Cage was one that showed up and just looks really cool. You're kind of trapped in this labyrinth. You're prisoners in a labyrinth where where you're playing cooperatively with up to 5 players, and you're trying to kind of like find your way around by drawing and laying tiles out. There's monsters out in the darkness, and you can only see, in your cardinal directions around you. So like you don't really know what's out there.
A candle that you're carrying around.
You have a candle, and you're trying to find keys to the gate to escape, and you kind of need to do that cooperatively. So there's some really interesting table talk around that one. I think love cooperative games. I love like horror themed games as well. I've quite a few at this point. So that's what I'm really looking forward to getting played. Any thoughts on that, Cage?
Well, I was mentioning I almost backed this game multiple times. I saw the original Kickstarter, almost got it. I saw the expansion Kickstarter, almost got it. And it's been in my Amazon cart multiple times. And so I'm super happy you picked this one up. I'm excited to get this one played.
Yeah, and some cool variability. There's a lot you can do to adjust the difficulty, including like bosses and like a mega boss at one point. They're all like they kind of change the game up a lot. So I see it as having kind of like layers to it, where you can play kind of like this base game, and then you can slowly start adding in all of this other content.
I think there's a if I remember correctly, I want to say you can add in like a communication rule that you can only communicate if you're like near somebody.
If you're visible, like
if you're
visible
in that
cardinal direction.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, so super excited for that one. Hoping to give it a whirl at a high player count, but it also apparently plays pretty well with just a couple people, so we might get that in today. Next up is another Halloween themed game that I picked up. I'd been looking for this one for a while. It's out of print and has been for a while. Sort of like famously expensive, I would say, and not hard to get a hold of. There's a lot of copies floating around on eBay and secondhand and things like that.
It's like 100 plus on there, right?
Often like at pretty exorbitant prices for like an out of print older game. And that's going to be Fury of Dracula. So I was really excited. I saw this at a GameSwap here locally a couple months ago, and I saw it, and it still wasn't cheap, but I got it at a better price than it was going for online, and I scooped it up immediately. It looks to have been like cared for like meticulously, like everything's labeled and there's like nice upgrades, and so I got a good copy. But I'm really excited to play this one. This involves a mechanic that I'm a big fan of, and that's one versus many. I actually just backed Terrorscape 2, so that's like a mechanic that I think is really fun, and kind of like there's not a lot of games like that out there. But
and Treasure Island now, I think
Treasure Island,
Not
I love.
Alone.
Not Alone is good.
Yep.
What's the one that's the video game that we played at the con? Dead by Daylight, another one that I think Terrorscape is actually pretty similar to. But so basically one player is going to control Dracula, and it's sort of like got this hidden movement thing going on. The other players are going to play vampire monster hunters who are trying to take down Dracula as he like traipses across Europe. So I think that one's going to be a lot of fun, and really excited just to have a copy. I think I'm kind of like nerding out just about the collecting aspect of it as well. That's my second game that I'm kind of excited to get to the table. And the third one's going to be something we've already actually talked about a little bit, and that's Kinfire Council. So we covered Kinfire Delve earlier. Kinfire Council was kind of an impulse buy for me. I saw it on the hotness list, watched a couple videos, and I was
you didn't buy it, I was buying it.
Yeah, I was like, I have to have this. This just looks so cool. I picked it up with the expansion and the upgrade, so fingers crossed this one goes over well. Got a lot of game there, but yeah, this looks really cool. Like I said, the world of Kinfire is really interesting to me. I was actually looking at their website this week while I was supposed to be working, and there's this kind of like rich lore building. They're doing like little. I don't remember if it was like books or like audio excerpts or like videos, but they were doing a lot of like world building around this. I think it's called Din Lux is the name of the world of Kinfire. And in Kinfire Council, you're going to kind of be representing, sort of like the ruling council of, I believe, of Din Lux. Working kind of alongside one another. I think there's like a hidden traitor element. Lots going on there, and sort of I'm excited to report back. I haven't learned it yet, but I'm excited to, and that's probably going to hit the table here before too long.
Nice, yeah, I'm excited about that one as well. So, and I'm excited to see what that Kinfire team keeps doing, because they do keep releasing more and more stuff. So I'm excited to see
everything's
the
been
world
well
expand.
reviewed. Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for that one. So now we're going to do some quick touches on I think one crowdfunding and then some pre-orders. We actually, on our hiatus, there were a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns, and like I got a few back, you got a few back. So we'll probably talk about those games in the future, but now they're gone, they're past, so we don't have as many to talk about. So we're going to do just one crowdfunding and a couple pre-orders here. Start things off is one that you backed.
Yeah, I've actually, Chance mentioned this, in terms of there have been a few like IV Studios games coming out here recently, and I've backed at least a couple of them that I can think of off the top of my head, maybe a few. But this one's going to be Honor's End, which is a cooperative deck builder, which looks really cool. I ended up backing it kind of at the intermediate level, I think. I think there was like a super blinged out deluxe version.
I don't think that was
like
worth it.
Individual player dice towers. It was a little bit much.
Yeah.
A book. Not saying you shouldn't if you're really into that world, but for me, I saved myself some wallet pain on that one. Yeah,
I was gonna say, with IV Studios, for me, I love their production. Like Fractured Sky, that's one that I absolutely love from them. I got Veiled Fate from them as well. That one is I'm a little more iffy on. I want to play it again to see how that one's gonna kind of grow on.
I enjoyed that one.
I did enjoy it. Yeah, it has some cool mechanics. Moonrakers was one that was a bit of a miss for me. I feel like the negotiation kind of landed a little flat for me, and I would rather play Zuvetus or whatever. So IV Studios is one that I don't really support going all in on. I feel like they overdo their production a little bit, so so there's kind of like a limit to how much I'm like, you no, we don't really need all that. But it's one that I'm also interested in because of one, IV Studios is they have created some fantastic games.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what this one looks like.
I think it'll be cool, and they do such. I think part of the reason that like going all in on the IV Studio games is hard for me is because they do such a good job with production in general. So it's like even the base game itself is like really really good looking. Really like premium. So yeah, I'm excited for Honor's End. I like cooperative games. I like deck building. I like boss battlers, and I believe. There's a few modes in this. You don't have to play you don't necessarily have to play the campaign. You can play like one-offs.
Nice.
So yeah, I think this one's going to be really cool.
Cool. Now a couple pre-orders. So I got I think 2 that I'm going to be ordering probably today. So because I just saw this one pop up being available for pre-orders. This first one here is going to be Animal Rescue Team. So this is part of that new line of the Shut Up and Sit Down presents. There's a lot of opinions about Shut Up and Sit Down getting involved in kind of this whole promoting games and stuff. I'm indifferent, I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I'm just like, hey, if they want to promote and bring back these or bring out new games and bring back these old games, so I backed Dogs of War that I'm super excited about. So Animal Rescue Team is going to be the next one in the series, although it's going to be out first because it's a pre-order, not a GameFound campaign. But this is looking, and it's also designed by Matt Leacock here and Lisa Towell. And it looks like basically a pick up and deliver co-op game. Basically, you have like each player gets 3 actions per turn. It's kind of like move, rescue an animal, make it somewhere, like take the animal somewhere. But you have like these specialists that are going to have their different abilities associated with them. So like you're going to have to kind of plan out as a team, like who can do what on the map and try to clear out the animals in the order that you need to, type of thing. And there's some cool minis with like the cars and the trailers. There's like a space for your people on it. It reminds me of like the Game of Life, like the cars and you put the little pegs in there. But it's kind of like that, and you have like a spot where you can drop the animal meeple in there and rescue them and move them around the map. So I'm excited to see what this one's like. Yeah. So any thoughts on this one?
No, this actually wasn't on my radar, but from what you're saying, I think it sounds cool. I like Matt Leacock's designs. I'm hoping
it's going to be a nice like co-op.
Yeah.
So that's Animal Rescue Team. Next up on my list that I'm super excited about this. I was worried it was canceled for a little while. This is Aquatica Duellum. So this is a dueling version of Aquatica, and I love Aquatica.
Big fan,
Really like it. I love that card sliding system. It's one of the few like non-interactive games. Like I feel like there's not a whole. It's kind of solitaire. One of the few kind of non-interactive games that I really enjoy bringing out and getting to the table. That sliding system, the Manta system, like everything about it.
The shark card. That's the one form of interaction.
Yeah. Like so, a lot of it is just a joy. The designer here, Ivan Tuzovsky, and published by Cosmodrome Games and Arcane Wonders here. I think they just do a great job with this game. So I'm super excited to get Aquatica Duellum out. I'm sure you're excited to play this one too.
Yeah, this has been up for pre-order for a while. I remember seeing this like months ago. So
supposed to come out in August, and they were delayed forever. So
delayed. Okay, yeah. It's been on my radar. Similar to you, I'm a big Aquatica fan. I think it's cool. I never feel like I'm playing optimally, but I'm always having a good time regardless.
Yeah. It's just those combos. Those combos are so satisfying when you get it to work.
Start sliding stuff left and right and flipping mantis or stingrays over. Really cool game. Excited for the Duellum version. I know this isn't on our list of things to talk about, but we talked about Wonderland's War earlier. So speaking of duel games, I saw that they're making a Wonderland's War duel.
Oh, nice.
That's coming out as well.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, last one on our little pre-order list here, and this is one that actually should be arriving like shortly after this episode post.
Yeah, I pre-ordered this, and I think I got a shipping notification last week. So this is going to be Take Time. So I'm going to confess again, this is becoming something of a theme, but I did some light due diligence on this. But essentially, I saw the words like co-op and hidden information and deduction, and I immediately thought of like Bomb Busters. I thought of Eternal Decks and all these games we've been playing lately that I really enjoy. Take Time involves kind of like cooperatively solving these puzzles and like progressively harder challenges and things like that. And, I'm going to be honest, that's the extent of my knowledge about it. That was enough for me to pull the trigger. I think this is going to be a really cool game. Saw some great reviews, and that was enough for me.
Yeah. I know you told me about this one. I was like, I saw that on BGG Hotness, so great, thumbs up. Let's do it. Let's do it. And like you said, anything with that hidden information, so that's the genre of co-op that hits for me. I'm not a huge fan of like that full open information co-op, which Animal Rescue Team, we'll see how that hits for me. But
Sure.
But I really like those games with that hidden information, like Bomb Busters. You said Eternal Decks. I am absolutely loving Eternal Decks.
That's great. That's one of my favorite
Oh
games.
man,
yeah.
anything that can kind of capture that. So I'm excited to give this one.
Yeah, sometimes I see a combination of mechanics, and I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm going to like that. I would include like area majority in there, hand management, stuff like that. I love.
Okay. And that does it for kind of our super long intro of just talking about a bunch of games. And now we're on to our featured topic. And this is one that we actually meant to do like 3 weeks ago. But we got in a game event. We're like, hey, we should talk about this. But we had to, I took too long. I had too much AP, too much analysis paralysis during that game. I was really stressing over my decision. But that is a sign of a fantastic game.
Yeah.
So our featured topic for this video is Pagan, Fate of Roanoke. This is a game that Josh owns and I wish I owned. But it doesn't make sense to be in my collection. But since Josh, you own it, I'm gonna let you kick things off and start us off with the feature topic.
Yeah, so Pagan Fate of Roanoke, possibly my favorite 2-player game. It's definitely up there. Like it's no question, like top 3, top 5, maybe number 1, really high in just like my favorite games overall. This is going to be a head-to-head sort of like dueling deck building game where you are one player is taking on the role of the witch and the other player is playing as the witch hunter. And you're essentially presented with this array of villagers, right? And they're split into like 3 categories. There's the 3 blue villagers, 3 green, and 3 red. Each villager has like an action associated with them when you like visit them, what you can do. And then, really kind of at the core of the game is that at the beginning, the witch is going to identify one of these villagers from a deck of cards to be the witch. So one of these villagers, these 9 villagers that's splayed out, is secretly the witch. And then the witch hunter, which is like, I guess mostly the role that Chanse has played. I usually have played as the witch. We have swapped roles just to kind of like learn.
Because I am terrible at lying. I cannot.
He's not a good liar.
Misdirection is not one of my strong suits.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this game, right? So what you're going to be doing on your turn is, you'll have your deck of cards. It's a rather large deck. I don't think we've ever like actually made our way through it when we play, but you'll have your hand of cards and you have like influence, which is what you pay to actually play those cards. So you have like a little dial, right? And then you have your workers that you send out to actually visit the villagers. And so I'll talk about the witch's perspective maybe, and you can talk about the hunter. So what the witch is trying to do is basically complete a ritual by gathering secrets about the villagers and gathering favors from the villagers. And you do that by visiting the villagers and then assigning favor tokens from, each villager allows you to allocate a different amount to a different color of villagers. So
and more importantly, it's not the same card usually. It's like you go to a card and it's like you get to place tokens on a whole different card, like a whole different set of cards generally.
For sure, yeah. I think it's almost always a different set. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's like 2 or 3.
Yep.
And then you also get another ability when you visit the villagers. So you might be able to draw cards, you might be able to gain influence. And then the actual card play is really satisfying to me. There's a lot you can do to mess with your opponent. It is very interactive. You might, the witch can brew potions that are sort of like these timed, powerful abilities that you need like a certain amount of influence for. The witch has a familiar, which is like a powerful secret type of, or like special type of worker who can undergo like additional actions and like boost their actions. And then, there's also this thing called enchantments that the witch can do, which are these powerful effects that directly affect the hunter. So they might do things like, on Chance's turn as the hunter, I can actually dictate where he places his first worker. That's one of my favorite ones.
I feel like you play that every time, every single time.
Yeah, and so the witch wins when they enact the ritual, right? So you need to gather like X number of favors and influence over the villager that actually is the witch, and then send your worker out to visit that witch. Sounds simple, but it's actually really difficult. There's actually a lot of blocking in this game, so you can't send your worker to a space where like the other player's workers are. And also, the hunter is trying to identify the witch at the same time as you. So if you're just dumping influence and secrets on the villager who is the witch, it's going to be really obvious, right? Like right away, and he'll just like kill the witch. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the hunter.
Yeah. So I played the hunter mostly. I have played as the witch once, and I was terrible at it. But so the hunter is kind of going out and trying to see like what the witch is doing, where the witch is going, where the witch is placing their little favor tokens, and the hunter is also putting out clue tokens. Now, those clue tokens are going to allow you to basically gather evidence over the course of the game, and when you gather evidence, you can go to another spot to exonerate one of the people at the village. Basically, this is where this reminds me a lot of Star Wars Rebellion,
Yeah.
like except you don't. The Rebellion player has a little more freedom of like choosing where to go in the game, whereas the witch, you're just like assigned a person, right? You're like, this is the witch, so there you go. But in this one, as the hunter, when you exonerate someone, you get to draw from that deck. So if you played Star Wars Rebellion, it's kind of like that probe, right? Probe deck, where you're drawing through and just narrowing down the options for that opposing player.
Tons of tension.
Yep. So trying to get those evidence tokens, trying to exonerate people, and there's definitely this component of, I think we both had the opinion where we've wondered if this game is going to fall flat, because like if I exonerate the wrong person, it's like, oh, you've been placing tokens there and they don't matter at all, so I'm just going to go and kill this person. We've always been concerned that the game could just end really fast, and I think that risk is still there, but there is a little bit of a, like the hunter does have to get clue tokens on everyone before they can actually murder somebody, because the townspeople aren't going to be happy if you've like not investigated everyone. They're going to be like, wait, we hired you to do a job and you were doing a bad job. But yeah, so far we've always come down to that down to the wire, where it's like you're gonna win in 1 or 2 turns, and I gotta take that risk of being like, oh, I gotta choose somebody, like there's a 50-50 shot of who's gonna be the witch on this
Executing an instant villager.
Luckily as the hunter, I think you get like 3 executions before people get too upset at you and throw you out. So
they're like, hey, none of these people are witches. Tension in this game. Like the tension is so thick towards the end. I play games to win. I don't typically get like super competitive. I feel like in this game, I'm usually like itching at the end to actually bring home the W. It's just so exciting. And the other thing I'll mention is that there's tons of like modular expansions for this game, and I actually own most, if not all of them. And we've barely dipped our toes into them, but you can actually do a lot of like deck construction as well. So there's like some really simple deck construction rules, and you can put together like a deck ahead of time. I think the only rules are like you need a certain amount of like each category of card, and you can't have more than 2 of
and it
each
actually
card.
has a list of like pre-constructed decks too,
yes,
right? Like
so,
that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, so if you buy like, expansion X, it will be sort of this little deck box, cards for the witch, cards for the hunter, and it will tell you like, hey, if you just want to play like with this theme of like, I don't know, spirits or whatever being introduced into the mix, then like here's the cards you should use for like this expansion. So tons of stuff to explore, tons of like different villagers, which I think add the most to the game. Just like different villagers entirely with different powers and things like that. And then different scenarios. So the scenarios introduce like unique rules for each game. So lots to explore there. And we've played this probably 5 or more times.
Something like that.
So I'm looking forward to introducing more of those, like more of that expansion content. And there is one expansion that's a little bit bigger, Beyond the Palisades, which includes an additional resource called Gloom that both players can interact with.
And we still haven't tried that.
We still haven't tried that one. And one thing I'll mention about this game, if you're thinking about playing it, there is a playmat available that is fantastic for this game. I think it's a huge difference maker. Super like premium. I feel like it makes the board really nice. It's really well decorated. Like the art is cool. I'm usually not like a crazy like playmat person, but for this game, the playmat is like insane.
It's great because it has it has all the information you'd have on your player board there.
Yeah.
It has the spot. It has the spots where all the decks and stuff. And I feel like it makes the game easier to bring out and easier to teach because of that.
For sure.
And yeah, this is one of the things. Yeah, it's 100% not necessary, but it does like add to the theme of it. And I think so. I know this is in my top 10, and Josh mentioned this probably in like his top 3.
Yeah, I think so.
So for us, that's totally worth it. And yeah, I'm just gonna call out like that tension and just that gameplay, like early on in that game where the witch is throwing out those tokens, and you as a hunter are trying to be like, okay, you got 4 tokens over there, 4 tokens over there. I got to figure out how to, and then you're trying to figure out how to get your tokens on the right person, because you also need to have your tokens in the right locations with the right numbers on there, because like you need to basically have, I think as a hunter, have 3 tokens on a person to be capable of killing them, because people are. Once again, these villagers are very judgmental. If you have not investigated someone enough before going out and murdering them, they're going to be upset with you. So yeah, you gotta meet like these thresholds. So you're trying to figure out how to get your tokens out, but you're also trying to figure out, okay, you might want to block the witch from going to those places, because it is kind of that worker placement. So that blocking aspect is huge, which is why
demoralizing when you get blocked out of a good move.
Yeah. And that's why I was mentioning in the beginning when you're doing the rules teach, where those cards, like you go to a spot and it puts tokens on different cards, because generally this is one of those things where towards the end game, it feels like the witch can kind of just like go to their person, like block them out. But they generally can't, because they're like, well, I need to get tokens on that person, so I can't go to that person because I got to go to another person to put tokens on my witch, and then like you got to prep for that the whole time, and it's just this that tension, it just ramps up over the course of the game, and then there's just things that are just like hamstringing you throughout the course of the game, like when you're throwing out those enchantments, and I'm just like, oh god, because then I gotta like waste a worker to clear an enchantment. Oh
yeah, and then secrets and favors can get removed from villagers, which is tough.
Oh yeah.
Because again, you don't want to like overtly favor the witch, right? Like you don't want to be dumping all of your influence onto one character and be obvious about it. But towards the end of the game, when the hunter is burning through that deck of like potential suspects and getting more and more information about who it is and who it isn't, and you as the witch don't know. So like maybe I'm trying to make it look like someone innocent is the witch, but the hunter might actually know that person is totally innocent. Yeah. And yeah, it's just so
back there
like,
chuckling and be like, ha ha ha.
There's a lot of chuckling in this, a lot of tension, and just like a fantastic game. Not overly expensive either. I think if you just wanted to get like the base, I know I was talking about the playmat and all the expansions, but if you just wanted to buy like the base box of this, I think you can get it for like under $40. And it's pretty widely available. I'm surprised this hasn't been more hyped. The reviews are great on Board Game Geek and other places, but I don't know. I just think it's fantastic.
If you're into the category, like if you play 2-player games, and Josh and I, we obviously do. We have a bunch that we review, a bunch that we talk about, and this is. I'm not gonna declare like Josh did that this is the highest on my list in 2 players. I got one above this one, I think. But
I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I think this is number 2. Like for 2-player dueling, like it doesn't get a whole lot better than this. This is just a fantastic experience. I really enjoy that tension. I really enjoy that asymmetry between the players.
Yeah.
I think both sides are fun to play, but like I said, I'm not good at like that misdirection. That stresses me out. So I'm not as good at playing the witch.
I thought, and this is like a theme through like a lot of dueling games that are very asymmetric. So I feel like this about Star Wars Rebellion. I feel like this about Dune, War for Arrakis, War of the Ring. Really important to like play both sides if you're really gonna like stick with it and you want to like be good at it. One of the biggest things I think for me that helped kind of like get better at playing the witch was just playing the hunter like once and really learning those rules, because a lot of times when you learn games like this, you really just need to learn like what you can do on your turn, and you're not so much concerned with like what the other players' options are. So like one Chanse mentioned was having to have like one clue on every villager in order to like execute. That can be
something
like,
you didn't know, right?
Yeah, I did not realize that. Like that can be, once I played as the hunter, I was like, oh, that's actually like really limiting.
Yeah.
And something you can like use to your advantage when you're playing as the witch or the other on the other side, is to like, hey, I can remove one clue from somebody. That's not so hard to do. That's actually, it seems really powerful now.
And that's like devastating when you're the hunter. You're like, oh no, because now you got to waste an action to get the clue back out to that person.
Yeah.
Like,
the one thing I've seen, my one sort of like needling worry about this game, and it's something that happened last time we played it, where Chanse was the hunter and I was the witch, is if the hunter just focuses on burning through that suspect deck.
That was my
That strategy was very powerful, and I thought really puts the pressure on you to like quickly complete your ritual. And I'm curious if that could be like potentially like game breaking. You know, like if
Yeah.
if that really is just like that powerful,
Like I
or
said,
if I just didn't do enough to counter it.
this is that thing where like I always have that concern. Like I have that concern that this game is going to break at some point. But so far, like out of our 5 games, it's just been like phenomenal coming down to that end of the game.
Held up really well, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a single bad experience yet. And yeah, I think that's something we've both been worried about. What if, we talked about this earlier, what if the witch gets identified like immediately? And you're just kind of like, well. But so far, yeah, no complaints there, no issues. I'm sure it's bound to happen sooner or later, but
And also,
yeah.
I would say now, so like this game hit right out of the gate for me. Like the first play, like I enjoyed it. And now that we're on play 5 or 6 or whatever, I finally started doing like other actions. Like now that I understand the game a bit more, like the hunter, I had these other actions on the board, and I was like, I don't know how to use this one. I don't know what this one does.
Yeah.
Like on this last game, like I finally was doing this raid action. I was like finally removing some of the tokens from the witch's side, and I was like, ah ha ha. Like, and then I also was doing that thing where I was like driving for that exonerating the villagers to kind of whittle down my options. Like I had cards with locations that were allowing me to get clue tokens out faster, and like I was doing things that I was like, oh man, I feel really smart this time. Then we got down to the end and it came down to a 50-50 shot, and I was like, oh, I was so stressed about making that decision. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it's always stressful. Even if it's not like your last villager, or I think you mentioned you get 3 chances to like execute a villager before they're just like, hey, you're no good at this whole witch hunting thing. Even if it's not the last one, like it's tense. You don't want to get the wrong one. But yeah, but what a game. I think it's fantastic. It was kind of an impulse buy for me, similar to some of the games I was talking about earlier, but it has really just like held up well, and I don't see myself moving on from it anytime soon. I think I'm looking at a picture of it right now actually, and the art is just, I think the art's really cool as well. It's very like stylish, and I don't know, just overall such a cool game.
Yeah. The last thing I'll mention on this one is that we did mention Star Wars Rebellion a couple times, and both of us enjoy that one. I feel like it's a giant, like, thematic experience when we do Star Wars Rebellion.
Yeah.
But I would say this game, like, superseded it for me just because this is easier to table and really gives me a lot of those same feelings that I get during Star Wars Rebellion. Like, I feel like we get to that exciting, tense moment faster in Pagan. And
sure.
it's like, it's kind of that same situation. I'm not going to say it replaces it, because Star Wars Rebellion is still like a fantastic game and still a great experience. And it is that game where you're like, okay, we have 3 hours, we have 3 to 4 hours this day. We're gonna throw on the Star Wars soundtrack, and we're just gonna do this. Like this is our day. Like it's fantastic. But if I'm choosing one over the other, like Pagan is the one that's going to be hitting the table more often. So,
for sure. I think it's a little more accessible, or a lot more accessible. The other one, that I think of when I play this is Ironwood.
Oh, yeah.
Another game that's sort of like similar with like the very asymmetric factions. We haven't really talked about it on the podcast, but that's another one that I really enjoy that I own. Not quite in the category of like this or Star Wars Rebellion, I would say, but it gives you that same feeling of kind of like, you have the asymmetric factions, you have the hidden information where you're trying to complete like specific goals without the other player, essentially knowing like what you're trying to like similar to like visiting the witch or like putting influence on the witch. And Ironwood, you're doing something similar with like forest totems and visiting forests. But anyways, just another game that's maybe worth a look if that's something that interests you. And a fantastic production on that one as well.
Just some great 2-player games out there.
Yeah. I'm actually curious now. I'm wondering if the artist is the same for Ironwood. I'm gonna have to look that up after this, because I'm a sucker for like good art and good theme.
All right, well, I think that is all I have to say on Pagan. Anything else to say before we wrap up this episode?
No, I don't think so. Go play Pagan.
Yeah, play more games, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for this episode 3 of Shelf to Table here. We're excited to be back at this, and we will be bringing more games your way, hopefully in maybe a week. We'll see about
probably a little more consistent now. We've had some things wrap up in personal lives that have kept us off the podcast game for a little bit.
Yep. But yeah, so thank you for listening, or if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Awesome.